by scratching the surface, you get a terrible shock. It's it's a heinous crime. People are so shocked by what...
The room had been prepared for a routine examination. No speeches, no ceremony, no reason for raised voices. But when the senior jeweler opened the final provenance ledger and spoke Catherine's name, everything changed. Camilla's expression hardened. Charles remained motionless. William looked directly toward the sealed case containing Diana's ruby necklace. Then, before anyone could soften the verdict or explain it away, the Queen Consort pushed back her chair and walked out. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Charles had expected a controlled review, not a family wound reopening before witnesses. The private jewelry review, a closed examination used to confirm ownership of pieces, had been arranged at Windsor because the necklace carried more than value. It held Diana's history, written instructions, and a chain of ownership no palace office could dismiss. Camilla entered, believing the rubies would remain within the monarch's collection. Catherine had not treated the meeting as procedure. The princess sat beside William, aware that objects connected to Diana carried a burden no title could soften. She had never met the woman whose memory shaped her marriage, yet now that memory seemed to be reaching across decades and placing something into her hands. The senior jeweler opened a second file. He explained that the provenance ledger, the official record tracing who owned an item and how it passed between people, contained a sealed, handwritten instruction. Diana had explicitly left the necklace to Catherine, with the transfer to happen when she became Princess of Wales, the title traditionally held by the heir's wife. Camilla gripped the arm of her chair. "Is that absolutely final?" she asked. The jeweler did not hesitate. He cited the signed record, the inventory code, and sealed instruction preserved separately, so no later office could alter its destination. William watched his father absorb the meaning. Charles understood that challenging the conclusion would not merely question a jeweler. It would openly reject Diana's recorded wish. Catherine did not reach for the case. She did not smile. She lowered her eyes, shaken by the thought that a woman she knew through memory, photographs, and William's grief had chosen her before this moment. Camilla looked at the necklace, then at Catherine, and finally at the king. No one rescued her from the verdict. Her chair scraped back. "Then there is nothing more for me to hear," she said before leaving. The door closed, but William's attention remained on the ledger. One page carried a palace review stamp. Someone had seen the bequest before. Someone had known, and Catherine had been kept in the dark. To the outside world, it was a dispute over rubies. Inside the family, it was something far more dangerous. For Catherine, the necklace represented a woman whose absence had shaped her marriage. For William, it carried the memory of a mother taken too soon. For Charles, it reopened a chapter he had spent decades trying to contain. And for Camilla, the jeweler's verdict felt like proof that even a crown could not silence the past. Catherine had lived for years beneath comparisons she never invited. Becoming Princess of Wales, the title traditionally held by the heir's wife, had given her a place in royal history, but it also placed Diana's memory beside every choice she made. The necklace was not simply another jewel. It was a message from a woman she had never met, yet whose absence had shaped William's grief, his caution, and the private fears within their marriage. William could not treat the rubies as part of an ordinary collection. To him, his mother's possessions were fragments of a life interrupted, pieces of memory untouched by ceremony. When Catherine admitted that accepting the necklace might look like a victory over Camilla, he heard more than hesitation. He heard the danger of Diana's final wish being abandoned, because honoring it had become uncomfortable. Catherine removed her engagement ring and placed it beside the unopened file. "I feel surrounded by decisions made by people who are no longer here to explain them," she said quietly. William sat opposite her, fighting anger and grief. Then he slid the ring back across the table. Diana's choice, he told her, was not a burden imposed by strangers. It was an act of trust. Charles faced that truth alone. He reopened the jeweler's documents and found a sentence that had not been read aloud during the meeting. Diana had described the future recipient as the woman who would stand beside William without erasing what came before. The words struck him with painful precision. She had not asked Catherine to replace her, and accounts she had asked her to remember. Camilla's distress now carried a sharper edge. Before the review, palace officials had led her to believe the necklace was cleared for an upcoming diplomatic reception, a formal gathering held to honor foreign representatives. She had already discussed wearing it. The confirmation had therefore stripped away not only expectation, but dignity. An aide entered with an archived guest list from a private jewelry inspection held months earlier. William read the names once, then again. Camilla had attended. The rubies had surfaced before, and someone in that room had already known where they were meant to go. Months before Camilla walked out of Windsor, another room had fallen silent around the same necklace. There had been no William, no Catherine, and no public consequence, only Camilla, a palace curator, and a jeweler holding a ruby clasp beneath a white examination light. One sentence spoken during that private inspection should have stopped everything. Instead, the case was closed. The paperwork disappeared, and the warning was buried. Camilla had requested the necklace while preparations were underway for a diplomatic reception. The event, a formal gathering held to honor foreign representatives, demanded a piece with history and authority, and she believed Diana's rubies carried both. Yet the necklace had belonged personally to Diana rather than to the crown, which meant the palace could not approve its use without first proving who legally controlled it. Adrian Mercer examined the clasp twice before speaking. The master jeweler had found a tiny inventory code hidden beneath the setting, a mark linking the piece to a sealed personal bequest. A bequest is a written instruction naming who should receive property after its owner's death, and this one pointed clearly toward William's future wife. Camilla did not accept the conclusion. She argued that Catherine's ownership had never been formally announced, and that objects tied to the monarchy could not remain frozen forever by private emotion. Adrian repeated that the code was not symbolic. It matched an archived instruction. Eleanor Shaw felt the tension sharpen. The palace curator refused to authorize the necklace for the reception, telling Camilla that no historic piece could be released, while its ownership remained disputed. The Queen Consort asked for the case to be returned to storage until what she called the uncertain interpretation could be reviewed. Camilla placed one gloved hand on the closed case. "A necklace cannot choose its future owner," she said quietly. Adrian held her gaze. The woman who owned it already did. That answer changed everything. The jeweler feared the warning would vanish once the room emptied, so he recorded the conversation in a signed professional memorandum. Eleanor received a copy and sent it directly to Charles's private office, believing the king needed to know before the necklace was requested again. The document never reached him. An official marked it non-urgent and placed it among routine collection papers. Eleanor watched the storage case being carried away and understood that silence had transformed a technical dispute into an approaching family crisis. When William later obtained Adrian's memorandum after the Windsor walkout, suspicion became proof. Camilla had been warned. The truth had been buried, and the prince was now prepared to confront her without aides, summaries, or palace protection standing between them. William did not summon a committee. He did not send an aide. He carried the jeweler's memorandum into the room himself and closed the door behind him. Camilla was waiting beside the fireplace, composed but pale, while Catherine remained outside by choice. What followed was not a constitutional discussion or a debate over property. It was a son demanding to know why his mother's final instruction had nearly been ignored. William had requested the meeting within minutes of reading Adrian Mercer's signed account. A memorandum is a formal written record of an event or decision, and this one left little room for doubt. Camilla had been warned months earlier that the necklace was linked to Diana's sealed bequest. Charles knew the meeting was taking place, but the king was not invited. The prince believed this truth had to be faced without rank, advisors, or royal offices softening what had happened. William placed the document on the table. "Why did you act surprised at Windsor?" he asked. "You already knew it was meant for Catherine." Camilla rejected the accusation at once. She said Adrian's warning had not been final, and that the later review might still have placed the necklace within the wider royal collection. Her voice remained controlled, but her hands betrayed her. She clasped them tightly as though holding back something far larger than anger. William stepped closer. He told her the argument had never been about whether she liked the decision. It was about whether she intended to honor his mother's choice when that choice excluded her. Camilla's expression hardened. Then she revealed what had shaped her confidence. A senior palace advisor had assured her that the sealed instruction could be considered emotionally persuasive, but administratively incomplete. The phrase struck William immediately. It belonged to internal inheritance disputes, where personal wishes could be weakened by technical language. Someone had not merely reassured Camilla. Someone had been preparing a route around Diana's decision. Camilla removed a ruby brooch from her jacket and placed it beside the memorandum. "I am tired of every red stone in this family becoming a battlefield," she said. William did not answer. For the first time, her composure broke. She admitted that walking out had not been planned. It was the reaction of someone who understood, in one humiliating instant, that everyone in the room had already judged her. The confession softened nothing, but it changed the direction of William's anger. He left with one question burning above all others. Which advisor had convinced Camilla that Diana's written wish could still be defeated? The confrontation had exposed her resentment, but behind it stood a quieter power, someone who had hidden inside palace procedure and nearly rewritten the past. Royal power rarely announces itself with a raised voice. It moves through annotations, withheld files, carefully chosen phrases, and decisions presented as procedure. The advisor who encouraged Camilla never touched the necklace and never confronted Catherine. Yet one sentence from his office nearly changed the fate of Diana's final gift. When Charles finally opened the internal correspondence, he discovered that the greatest threat to the bequest had not come from emotion. It had come from bureaucracy, disguised as neutrality. Charles read the correspondence twice. Sir Malcolm Vale, the senior household advisor responsible for private collections and ceremonial access, had reviewed the necklace after the Clarence House inspection. His role gave him control over which historic pieces could be released, worn, or transferred. Yet instead of presenting the full record, he had reduced Diana's instruction to a matter of interpretation. Vale argued that the bequest named an intended recipient but lacked a conventional transfer date. A bequest is a written direction explaining who should receive personal property after someone's death, and his summary suggested the palace could delay recognition until the reigning monarch approved it. Charles felt the betrayal immediately. The advisor had used the king's silence as implied permission, without ever placing the full evidence before him. Camilla had relied on that advice, believing procedure protected her position. Now she understood that the guidance had protected only palace flexibility, leaving her exposed when the jewelers delivered an answer no one could soften. The lead jeweler ended the ambiguity. He showed Charles that the transfer date was already embedded in the inventory language. The necklace would pass to William's wife when she became Princess of Wales. Vale had removed that line from his summary, and turning a clear instruction into what looked like an uncertain wish. Charles summoned him without delay. He placed the complete file beside the shortened version and asked one question. "Read the sentence you excluded." Vale hesitated. Then he spoke Catherine's title aloud. The king listened without interrupting. When the advisor finished, Charles removed his glasses and set them down. Administrative convenience, he said, came dangerously close to personal disobedience. The consequence was immediate. Vale lost all authority over the review, and the monarch ordered the jeweler's full findings entered permanently into the royal inventory, the official record listing ownership and custody of royal and personal pieces. Catherine's claim was now secure. No office could weaken it again. But the correction carried a personal cost. Camilla had resisted an outcome the king had formally endorsed, and with the hidden advisor removed, she could no longer blame uncertainty for what followed. The legal struggle was over. Inside the family, the emotional reckoning had only begun. By the following morning, the necklace had been secured for Catherine. The advisor had lost his authority, and the official record had been corrected. Camilla had lost something less visible but equally powerful: control of the story inside her own household. Staff lowered their voices when she passed. Briefing papers avoided the subject. Even the empty chair from the Windsor meeting seemed to follow her through every corridor. Charles had issued a private directive confirming Catherine as the necklace's rightful custodian and forbidding any further attempt to reinterpret Diana's bequest. A private directive is a formal instruction circulated within the royal household rather than announced publicly, and this one left no room for delay. Palace staff were ordered to prepare the rubies for conservation before the transfer, turning the jeweler's verdict into an irreversible reality. Camilla felt the isolation immediately. Advisors who had encouraged her confidence now spoke carefully. retreated behind procedure, or avoided her altogether. Their certainty had vanished the moment the king made his decision. She had trusted their guidance, yet she alone carried the humiliation of having challenged an outcome they had promised could still be changed. Catherine's silence wounded her most. Camilla believed that because the princess had said nothing during the meeting, everyone had been free to imagine a private triumph. Yet Catherine had never demanded the necklace, never celebrated the confirmation, and never asked for Camilla to be embarrassed. Then another message arrived. Catherine wanted the transfer completed privately. No photographers, no announcement, no ceremonial presentation. The princess had rejected every opportunity to turn Diana's gift into a public victory, and that choice forced Camilla to face an unsettling truth. Perhaps Catherine had never been fighting her at all. Camilla opened the program for the diplomatic reception, where she had intended to wear the necklace. She found the jewelry notation, drew a hard line through it, and closed the folder without calling an aide. Charles entered quietly. He told her he would not excuse the walkout, but neither would he allow the household to treat her humiliation as entertainment. The king's protection offered no escape from responsibility, yet it reminded her that consequence did not have to become cruelty. Camilla agreed to withdraw from the reception. She knew resentment would remain visible, and public duty could not disguise private fury. Before Charles left, she asked whether Catherine would meet her alone, not as queen and princess, but as two women trapped inside Diana's unfinished history. For the first time since the jewelers spoke, Camilla stopped searching for a way to reverse the decision and began searching for the courage to face the woman who had inherited it. There were no jewelers in the room, no advisors, no husbands waiting beside them. Catherine arrived carrying nothing, while Camilla had removed every visible ruby from her clothing. For several seconds, neither woman spoke. The necklace remained elsewhere, locked behind palace security, yet its presence filled the silence between them. This was the meeting the institution could never conduct, because no rule or document could resolve what Diana's name had awakened in both women. Camilla had requested the conversation after learning that Catherine refused any public ceremony surrounding the transfer. The princess agreed only after making one condition clear: there would be no formal record, no palace secretary, and no family intermediary listening from the next room. Whatever passed between them would belong to them alone. Camilla spoke first. She admitted that hearing Catherine's name in the jeweler's verdict had made years of effort feel suddenly meaningless. She had spent decades trying to build a legitimate place within the monarchy, yet one sentence had made her feel as though the crown on her head carried less authority than a memory she could never escape. Catherine listened without interrupting. Then she answered with equal honesty. Receiving Diana's necklace did not make her a replacement, she said, and it did not erase the pain attached to Charles and Camilla's history. The rubies could not repair the past. They could only reveal how much of it remained alive. Camilla asked whether the necklace would be worn publicly. Catherine said perhaps one day, but only when the moment honored Diana rather than humiliated anyone still living. William had initially wanted the piece displayed immediately, she revealed, believing it would prove that his mother's wishes had prevailed. The princess had stopped him. Memory, she told Camilla, could not become a weapon simply because grief made vengeance feel justified. That confession unsettled the Queen Consort. She admitted that she had imagined wearing the necklace would prove Diana's legacy no longer threatened her. Instead, the attempt had exposed how deeply the insecurity remained. Catherine poured the tea. Camilla reached for the cup, but her hand trembled. Without comment, the princess steadied the saucer until the shaking passed. Camilla apologized for walking out, and for allowing Catherine to become the target of a dispute she had never created. The princess accepted the apology, but she did not pretend the damage was harmless. Their understanding remained fragile. News of the jeweler's confirmation had already reached the press, and the quiet truth they had shared was about to be transformed into something louder, harsher, and far more dangerous. The two women left without friendship, victory, or defeat, but outside the palace walls, the world was preparing to turn their private reckoning into a national spectacle. By sunrise, the secret was no longer contained by palace doors. The necklace appeared across front pages before Catherine had even seen it outside its case. Broadcasters called it a victory for Diana's memory. Commentators described Camilla's walkout as a royal rupture, but the moment that captured the country did not come from a studio or an official statement. It came from a single red rose placed outside Kensington Palace beneath a handwritten message. Palace communications moved quickly but carefully. Officials confirmed only that the necklace had been assigned according to its documented provenance, the formal record showing where an object came from and who legally owned it. They refused to discuss the Windsor meeting, Camilla's departure, or the private emotions now threatening to overwhelm the family. The silence did not calm the story. It made it louder. A major newspaper printed the headline, "Diana's rubies passed to Catherine," above photographs of the late princess wearing the necklace and Catherine arriving at Windsor. Broadcasters framed the decision as a collision between Diana's enduring legacy, the future queen's rising role, and Camilla's place beside Charles. William watched the coverage with growing anger. Catherine was being presented as the winner of a contest she had never entered, while the princess feared the headlines would destroy the fragile honesty reached with Camilla only hours earlier. Their private understanding had depended on restraint. The public story demanded triumph and defeat. Camilla faced something harsher. One broadcaster recreated her departure through anonymous accounts, turning her most vulnerable reaction into a simple image of jealousy. She heard commentators reduce decades of insecurity, regret, and struggle to one conclusion: Diana had won again. Then the jewelers intervened. Their limited professional statement confirmed that the necklace's destination had been established through ownership records. Charles had not awarded it. William had not seized it. Catherine had not requested it. Diana had decided. That clarification changed the argument. The rubies were no longer evidence of royal revenge. They were proof that a private instruction had survived delay, pressure, and attempted reinterpretation. Outside Kensington Palace, a small crowd gathered near the gates. One woman placed a red rose beneath a card reading, "Her choice was remembered." The image spread through every broadcast. Charles watched in silence. When the rose filled the screen, the king asked for the television to be turned off. The public had already delivered its verdict, but one decision remained. Catherine could keep the necklace hidden, or wear it once in a way that defined its true meaning. The world had turned the rubies into a symbol of victory. Her next choice would decide whether they remained a weapon of division or became a quiet act of remembrance. Catherine did not wear the necklace to a state banquet, a coronation anniversary, or a room filled with cameras. Weeks later, she chose a private family memorial, attended only by those closest to Diana's sons. There were no formal announcements and no opportunity for public triumph. When the rubies finally appeared against her dress, William lowered his eyes, Charles remained silent, and Camilla did something no one in the Windsor room would have expected. She stayed. The jewelers had completed the conservation work and transferred Diana's ruby necklace into Catherine's personal custody. Conservation meant the careful cleaning, repair, and protection of the historic piece before it changed hands. Charles then signed the final inventory entry himself, confirming that the necklace belonged to the Princess of Wales through Diana's recorded instruction, not royal generosity, political pressure, or a compromise designed to calm the family. Catherine chose the memorial because she understood the danger of the moment. Wearing the rubies before cameras would have turned remembrance into conquest. Wearing them privately allowed her to honor the woman who had entrusted them to William's future wife without claiming Diana's identity as her own. William saw the necklace and felt years of anger begin to loosen. He had believed justice required a public display, something undeniable that proved his mother's wishes had survived. Yet Catherine showed him another truth. Honoring Diana did not require repeating her pain, and protecting her memory did not mean using it against people still living. Camilla entered before the memorial began. She paused when she noticed the rubies, but she did not leave. The Queen Consort took her assigned seat without objection, without protest, and without drawing attention to herself. Her decision could not erase the Windsor walkout, but it proved she had accepted a limit no title could overcome. Diana's place in the family's history could not be negotiated away by marriage, rank, or time. Catherine accepted no false victory. She had not forgiven every wound surrounding Charles and Camilla, nor had she become the late princess through inheritance. She accepted only the responsibility placed before her: preserve the necklace, respect its meaning, and never exploit its power. After the memorial, Catherine removed the rubies and returned them to their case. William closed the lid. Camilla then placed a handwritten note beside it, acknowledging that some inheritances were acts of memory, not rank. The necklace crowned no winner and defeated no queen. It proved that Diana's final choice had survived delay, insecurity, and attempted reinterpretation. Catherine inherited the rubies, but the monarchy inherited the greater lesson. Power could command ceremonies, titles, and rooms, yet it could never rewrite love deliberately left behind. The case closed, the room emptied, and the necklace remained where Diana had intended, not as a weapon against the present, but as a promise faithfully delivered to the future. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.